Let's talk about self-esteem. You know, that inner feeling of your own value. It's a tricky thing, right? Especially when we're living in a world that feels like it's constantly measuring us, grading us, and stacking us up against everyone else. Trying to define our own worth in the middle of all that can feel like a real uphill battle.
Wow, this quote it nails that feeling, doesn't it? It's that pressure cooker environment where you can look around at all the success, all the perfect images, and suddenly feel like you're falling behind, no matter how hard you're working or what you've already achieved.
So, does that sound familiar? If that little voice in your head just went, yep, I want you to know you are so not alone. It's that constant, quiet hum of self-doubt that so many of us live with. And today, we're going to dig into why that is. So let's kick things off with a really big one, the pressure of perfection. And what's so interesting here is that this isn't always about some big, obvious failure. A lot of the time, this is a struggle that's hiding just beneath a surface that looks pretty successful. And that's the real kicker. You can look at someone who, from the outside, seems to have it all figured out. But on the inside, they could be in a constant battle with self-doubt or this crippling need for everything to be absolutely perfect. And in really competitive places, this is way, way more common than you'd think. Okay, so it's one thing to have this feeling, but being able to actually put a name to what's going on, well, that's a total game changer. Giving these struggles a specific name is really the first step toward understanding them and then, actually doing something about them. So who exactly goes through this? Well, the list is pretty broad. It could be adults who just have this chronic nagging inner critic, or maybe it's people who feel kind of lost or stuck, not sure which way to go. It could be folks who are always comparing themselves to others, or expats who are trying to figure out who they are in a whole new culture. And for sure, it affects people who are trying to rebuild their lives after a big change. See yourself in any of these? Now let's talk about a big one, imposter syndrome. Oh, this is that sinking feeling that you don't actually deserve any of your success. It's like you're just waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, the jig is up, we know you're a fraud. It is an absolute confidence killer. And how about people-pleasing? This is when saying the word no feels physically impossible. You just end up putting everybody else's needs and wants before your own, and over time, that just chips away at your self-worth. Your own needs, your own identity, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And finally, there's the inner critic. Look, we all have one. But when that voice in your head is just relentlessly harsh, when it's always telling you you're not good enough, that you're flawed, it can lead to this really deep sense of shame. Just recognizing that voice for what it is, that's the key to learning how to fight back. Okay, so we've put some names to these feelings, but what do we actually do about them? This is where we get practical. This is where we start building a toolkit for change. And the great news is, there are real, proven strategies for this stuff. Instead of thinking about therapy as this abstract, mysterious process, I want you to think of it like being handed an actual toolkit. These are real tools designed to help you build, or, rebuild, a stronger, more genuine sense of who you are. What's so powerful is how these tools all work together. So first, you learn to challenge those negative beliefs, often using something called CBT. That means you learn to catch a thought like, I'm a total failure. And you stop and ask, wait, is that really true? Where's the proof? Then you can start to rewrite your story, maybe using narrative therapy to see your experiences not as failures, but as sources of strength. And finally, you work on self-kindness through things like compassion-focused therapy, which is designed to turn down the volume on that voice of shame. So, with these tools, what are we actually trying to build? What's the end game here? Well, the goal isn't just to feel a little bit better, it's to build what you could call authentic confidence. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The finish line isn't perfection. That's an impossible, exhausting standard. The real win, the real goal, is to feel secure, to feel solid in who you are right now, with all your strengths and your flaws. It's about self-acceptance, not perfection. All right, before we wrap this up, let's clear the path forward a little bit. I want to tackle some of those common questions or hesitations that might be popping into your head right about now. So a big question is, can I just read a self-help book or hire a coach? And look, those things can be great for motivation and strategy, but therapy tends to go deeper. It's a process that's tailored specifically to you and your history. So instead of just getting tips that treat the symptoms, the goal is to get to the root causes, to create change that really lasts. Ah, the classic question. For a lot of people, this is a huge hesitation. You might be worried you'll have to dig up a bunch of stuff from the past that you'd much rather leave buried.
And here's the empowering answer. Only if it's actually helpful for what you're trying to achieve today. It's a partnership. You are always in the driver's seat. You set the pace. This is another great one, because low self-esteem, it doesn't just stay in your head, does it? It shows up in how you act, especially when it comes to speaking up for yourself or setting boundaries. Absolutely. A huge part of this work is about taking that new inner confidence and turning it into an outer skill. Learning how to communicate your needs clearly and respectfully is often one of the most concrete and life-changing results. And of course, the how long question. It's totally natural. We all want to know when we're going to start feeling a real difference. And the honest answer is, it's just different for everyone. There is no magic number of sessions, because this whole journey is designed around you. It's about steady progress that honors your unique story. It's not a race to some imaginary finish line. So we'll end with this thought. We've talked about what it means to rewrite your story, to challenge that inner critic, to build a more authentic kind of confidence. The tools are out there. The support is out there. So the only real question left is, what do you want the next chapter in your story to be?